hundreds of people have seen the prospect of a dream home in the Costas fade away, and they lay the blame squarely at the door of the builders. Becky once followed a couple from Cheshire to Spain to find out what happened to their £20,000.
Ever since developers discovered the Costa del Sol 40 years ago, the area has proved irresistibly attractive to people looking for a place in the sun. Last year, 50,000 Brits gave up their homes here to live along the Costas. Tina Hutchin wasn't one of them. She wanted to go. Along with her partner Jimmy, she wanted to pack in work at her Sandbach pub. 4 years ago, she paid £20,000 towards a new apartment. But they've become the victims of a scheme run by a Spanish builder which many believe is operating illegally.
All we want is our apartment in Spain.
Tina and Jimmy aren't alone. Some lawyers reckon that as many as 2,000 other customers are in the same position. So which company, with offices in Manchester and across southern Spain, is it which can leave customers feeling so cheated? The firm is 8 years old and made profits last year of £18 million. Its name is Aifos, and Tina and Jimmy have gone to Spain to find out why their dream home still hasn't been built.
And this, of course, is why so many people from Britain buy properties on the Costa del Sol. Mile after mile of endless sea and sand. But it's that dream of a new life in the sun that for so many has turned sour.
This was an artist's impression of the apartment block that Tina and Jimmy were buying into. A penthouse sitting in plush, landscaped gardens. Back in 2001, it cost £70,000. It would be built by Aifos and be ready, they were told, in just 18 months. Jimmy's a former paratrooper and ran a crane hire company in Liverpool. When his pension matured, they had £20,000, which they used as a deposit and 2 down payments. They paid up, sat back and looked forward.
We could have rented it out and earned money in that way. Enjoyed holidays here ourselves, friends and family. We know lots of people who have bought out here with other developers and are now enjoying their holidays here, and that's frustrating and upsetting when people keep saying, "Oh, how's yours going on, Tina?" So, well, it's still a hill.
4 years later, this is how far Aifos got. Nowhere. The hill on which the property was to be constructed is still just a hill. Aifos has offered to return deposits with a small amount of interest, but these clients want apartments. And with house prices doubling in the last few years, the original deposit wouldn't now buy a similar property.
Well, I was just imagining all those pretty buildings that we've been shown on the artist's impression, and we would have been in the top in our penthouse. Nice views down the valley to the sea. We're not the only ones either.
Something went wrong with it.
So how did Aifos, one of Spain's biggest builders, manage to get everything so wrong? Was it by accident or design? Was Aifos just unlucky, or has something else been going on? To find out the truth behind the Aifos deal, Tina and Jimmy have come to Mijas Town Hall, home to the local planning department. They want to know how Aifos has dealt with their plot on the hill. And what they discover staggers them. When they paid their money, Aifos didn't have planning permission, and after withdrawing one application, they still don't have it.
We were led to believe that when we paid our deposit, within 18 months the property would be ready to move into, but apparently not.
I think it's a bit shady. It's a bit of a dodgy deal, to say the least.
Elena Narvaez is a solicitor specialising in consumer legislation. Her offices in the centre of Malaga are the next stop in Tina and Jimmy's quest for the truth.
Were you told by the promoter or by the real estate about the lack of the planning permission? Were you told about it?
No, never.
No.
Well, when we paid our deposit, we just presumed that would be the normal thing, and that already had been granted.
Well, Aifos should have taken a mere reservations document not selling contract as they have done. But in fact, they shouldn't have signed the contract until the license were accepted by the town hall.
That's the first we've heard of that at all. I didn't know that they shouldn't have sold it to us without that.
Yeah.
But the lawyers didn't tell us that either.
According to Elena, Aifos shouldn't have sold them the apartment without telling them first about the lack of planning permission. Lawyers reckon a couple of thousand people may be caught up in this. If they've paid out similar amounts to Tina, the builders could have been sitting on a total pot of money worth about £40 million. It's time to go to Marbella to tackle Aifos. Welcome to the firm's jewel in the crown, the 5-star, £200 a night Godolphin Hotel set in the heart of Marbella, 200 metres from the Med with 127 luxury rooms. The centrepiece of a building empire started in 1997. Francisco Garcia is the company's financial director, overseeing the construction of 14,000 properties with plans for 38,000 more. Having originally agreed to be interviewed, Francisco Garcia said his directors had told him discussions had to take place off-camera. Mr. Garcia told us that his company has a policy of absolute transparency when giving information to clients and that they have many satisfied customers.
Well, we've just come out of a 6-hour meeting with Aifos here in the hotel, and they deny acting illegally and insist they haven't behaved in a fraudulent way. They told us that it is their policy to discuss planning permission with purchasers, although admit that no records of these conversations have been kept.
Mr. Garcia agreed to make a statement to us. He still declined an interview, but he did admit faults.
Mainly, we want to apologise to our British clients for not having contacted them before, since we didn't have their details, because some property agencies haven't given them to us, and that in order to solve any problems that they have with Aifos, they can go to any of our offices where they'll be treated perfectly, and where we'll find a solution to their problems.
They do, however, admit that contracts don't specify anything about planning permission and accept that deals could have been done without any reference whatsoever to planning permission. That's exactly what Tina's alleging.
Aifos do offer unhappy clients discounts off new properties, but the sharp rise in house prices in Spain means they're now too expensive.
We've lost 4 years of development value that's gone on this coast. The prices that we originally paid have doubled now. Like prices back home have doubled. But that 4 years, who's going to compensate us for that?
Could Aifos really have been breaking the law by selling apartments without being clear about planning permission? We needed a second opinion.
Planning consent has to be attached to the contract in a hard copy at the back of it. There is no alternative for that. So there's no possibility of a developer saying that they gave verbal warning or that they were told that there was no planning consent. The law says that planning consent has to be attached to the contract itself.
Looking at a lump of barren land, imagining a luxury apartment is not what Tina and Jimmy expected when they handed over their £20,000 4 years ago. Like many others caught in the trap, they feel bad. They've had to search for the clues themselves to reveal the truth behind the Aifos deal.
We've done all the pushing. They just sent us off into the wilderness.
Back home, and Aifos continue to sell to people in the northwest. They attended a recent property exhibition at GMEX in Manchester. And it's here that Tina finally gets to talk to them. The meeting lasts about an hour, and Aifos make them an offer. They'll give them a discount off a new property, but the rise in house prices means Tina and Jimmy would have to spend a further £100,000. After 4 years, Spain seems further away than ever. Aifos say they might still develop the hill, but there's little hope Tina and Jimmy's apartment will ever be built. A graceful retirement to the sun seems a distant dream.